The DiMERA Crypt was never meant to be a holding cell. It was never meant to be temporary. It was never meant to be humane. And most importantly, it was never meant to save anyone. Because this storyline isn't about kidnapping. It's about collapse. Right now, multiple members of the DiMERA family are trapped together in a place designed to do one thing exceptionally well: force the past to resurface. And when DiMERAs are forced to confront what they've buried, things don't resolve. They explode. The DiMERA Crypt is not just a setting. It is a statement. In Days of Our Lives, locations are never chosen randomly, and the crypt, more than any other place in Salem, carries generational weight. This is not simply where bodies rest. It is where legacy is sealed. For decades, the DiMERA Crypt has symbolized everything this family represents: power built on secrecy, influence maintained through fear, and a history so dark it refuses to stay buried. This is where the family hides its sins, where betrayals are quietly buried, where the presence of Stefano DiMERA lingers long after his death. Every time the crypt reappears, it signals something important. The past is being dragged into the present. So when the show places the crypt at the center of this storyline, it's not a coincidence. It's a declaration. The crypt strips the DiMERAs of everything that normally protects them. No boardrooms to control narratives, no legal maneuvering, no hired muscle or political leverage. Inside the crypt, status is meaningless. What remains are blood ties, and the grudges those ties have never resolved. This storyline isn't about escaping a physical space. It's about enduring the psychological weight of the DiMERA name. And that weight has crushed people before. Let's remove any illusion that this situation is random. It isn't. What's happening in the DiMERA Crypt required precision. Someone didn't just grab hostages. They selected specific DiMERA family members. They chose a location loaded with symbolic trauma. And they placed individuals together who have a long, volatile history. That level of detail reveals something critical. Whoever orchestrated this understands DiMERA psychology. They know fear alone won't break these people. DiMERAs are conditioned for danger. They've survived kidnappings, betrayals, and near-death experiences countless times. What they haven't survived easily is each other. The captor understands that DiMERAs don't collapse under external threat. They collapse under internal conflict. By trapping them together, this plan activates decades of resentment, old rivalries, unforgiven betrayals, power struggles that never truly ended. This isn't imprisonment in the traditional sense. It's psychological warfare. No weapons, no violence required, just proximity, pressure, and time. And in the DiMERA family, those three elements have always been enough to cause devastation. Nowhere inside the DiMERA Crypt is the danger more concentrated than in the space between Kristen DiMERA and EJ DiMERA. This is not a sibling argument. This is a war of worldviews. Kristen operates from emotion, from instinct, from deeply personal wounds that never healed. Her actions are driven by love, twisted, desperate love, especially when it comes to her child. To Kristen, survival means protecting what she loves at any cost, even if the cost is moral collapse. EJ, on the other hand, operates from control, calculation, strategy. and an unshakable belief that he is smarter, more capable, and more entitled to power than anyone else in the room. Where Kristen reacts, EJ manipulates. Where Kristen feels, EJ calculates. Both believe they are justified. Both believe they are right. And neither believes the other deserves authority or even respect. That mutual certainty is what makes them so dangerous together. Trapped in a confined space with no escape, their differences can no longer be managed from a distance. There are no intermediaries, no power buffers, no exits. Kristen sees EJ as the architect of her family's suffering, the man whose ambition has repeatedly put innocent people in harm's way. EJ sees Kristen as chaos incarnate, an unpredictable force who threatens the order he believes he alone can maintain. And here's the critical detail. Their conflict isn't about what's happening in the crypt right now. It's about every betrayal that was never forgiven, every moment one gained power while the other lost it, every scar that time failed to erase. The crypt doesn't create their war. It removes the barriers that once kept it contained. And the longer Kristen and EJ are trapped together, the more inevitable it becomes that one of them will cross a line that cannot be uncrossed. At first glance, Chad DiMERA appears to be the calm presence in the crypt. Measured, quiet, rational. But that calm is deceptive. Because Chad has lost more than almost anyone trapped in that room. He buried the love of his life. He watched his family tear itself apart. And he has carried guilt. Quiet, unresolved guilt. Longer than he ever admits out loud. Unlike EJ, Chad does not crave dominance. Unlike Kristen, he does not thrive on emotional confrontation. Chad craves resolution. He wants answers, closure, an end to the endless cycle of loss that has defined his life as a DiMERA. And that desire is exactly what makes him dangerous. Because people who want power can tolerate chaos. People who want revenge can endure hatred. But people who want resolution, they break when they realize it may never come. Chad isn't trying to control the room. He's trying to survive emotionally inside it. And in DiMERA history, that kind of desperation has always been the most volatile force of all. Chad has reached the point where holding everything together is costing him more than letting it fall apart. He may not raise his voice. He may not threaten anyone. But under enough pressure, Chad is the one most likely to make a choice that cannot be undone. He isn't the loudest person in the crypt. He isn't the most aggressive. But he may be the one standing closest to the edge. The arrival of Peter Blake doesn't just escalate the situation, it redefines it. Peter is not simply another DiMERA trapped inside the crypt. He is a living reminder of everything this family has tried and failed to bury. Stefano DiMERA's adopted son, Kristen's brother, a man whose entire existence has always existed in the gray space between victim and villain. Peter has never fit cleanly into the DiMERA hierarchy. He's been betrayed, used, manipulated. And in response, he learned something invaluable. Power doesn't come from authority. It comes from leverage. Peter thrives in chaos because chaos levels the playing field. In disorder, titles disappear, alliances weaken, trust evaporates. And Peter understands vulnerability better than anyone in that crypt. He knows how to read emotional fractures. He knows how to whisper doubt into unstable minds. And he knows exactly when to present himself as an ally or a victim. His presence immediately destabilizes the fragile balance inside the crypt. Because unlike Kristen, Peter isn't ruled by rage. Unlike EJ, he isn't obsessed with control. Unlike Chad, he isn't searching for resolution. Peter is patient. And patience, in an environment filled with emotional volatility, is a weapon. Peter doesn't need authority. He doesn't need dominance. He only needs opportunity. And a confined space filled with fear, resentment, and unresolved trauma gives him exactly what he needs. If anyone inside the crypt is capable of quietly turning DiMERAs against one another, if anyone can exploit fractures without ever lifting a hand, Peter Blake is the most dangerous catalyst in the room. This storyline is far too precise to be accidental. Every choice, the captives, the location, the timing, serves a purpose. Which leads to the most important question of all. This isn't about who is trapped. It's about who is meant to break. Because psychological traps aren't designed to hold everyone. They're designed to collapse one critical pillar. There are 3 obvious targets. Kristen DiMERA, whose rage, if left unchecked, could spiral into self-destruction. Her emotions burn hot, and when they consume her, they consume everything around her. EJ DiMERA, whose belief in his own control may finally crack. If EJ loses his sense of dominance, he doesn't just lose power, he loses identity. And Chad DiMERA, whose emotional exhaustion has left him dangerously vulnerable. A man who has spent years holding his family together while quietly falling apart. But Days of Our Lives rarely chooses the most obvious victim. It doesn't destroy the weakest character. It destroys the one holding the system together, the one absorbing everyone else's damage, the one keeping the structure from collapsing. And that's what makes this storyline truly unsettling. The most dangerous outcome here isn't a violent confrontation. It's a sacrifice. A moment where someone decides that ending the suffering is worth any cost. Because when a DiMERA chooses sacrifice, the consequences ripple far beyond the crypt. And once that choice is made, there's no going back. What makes this storyline so powerful is what it refuses to do. There is no immediate explosion, no last-minute rescue, no shocking reveal designed to offer relief. Instead, the show leans into restraint. And restraint is dangerous. Because pressure, left unresolved, always transforms people. Inside the DiMERA Crypt, that pressure is constant. Every hour trapped together forces old wounds back to the surface. Every conversation sharpens existing fractures. Every moment of silence magnifies resentment. The crypt doesn't need to collapse physically to explode narratively. It doesn't require fire or destruction. It only needs one DiMERA to make the wrong choice. One decision driven by fear, rage, or desperation. And once that line is crossed, nothing can be contained. Alliances will fracture, trust will evaporate, and consequences will spiral beyond anything anyone planned. This isn't the climax. It's the ignition. The DiMERA Crypt is about to explode. Not because of bombs or weapons, but because of what prolonged confinement is doing to the people trapped inside. This storyline has never been about escape. It's about transformation. Someone will leave that crypt permanently changed. Someone will lose something they can never recover. And someone may not leave at all. That's how DiMERA stories end. Not with closure, but with cost. Because when the DiMERAs implode, they don't fall quietly. They destabilize Salem itself. Relationships collapse, power structures shift, innocent people get pulled into the fallout. The end isn't here yet, but it's approaching. And when it arrives, it won't whisper. It will shatter everything in its path.